It's been 84 years, or at least that's what it feels like for all of us F1 fantasy managers. But we're back. We're back. I'm back. This is your channel for F1 Fantasy. My name's Tom, and I'm going to be here throughout the 2025 season. This is my 4th season on YouTube, so welcome back, all the people that have been here before, and hello to all the new people that are hopefully joining the journey for this year. We've had our first price reveals at long last, because it's taken forever for F1 to officially announce anything. There were question marks whether the game was even going to launch in time for Australia, but let's put all those fears, frustrations, and concerns behind us, because now the real meaty business starts in the lead up to the first race of the season. And it's going to be packed this week, so we're going to start off this evening. We've got a few price reveals, as you can see on screen. There's a few more on top of this I'll go through in just a second, but let's have a quick look and think about our initial reactions. Of course, take everything I say in this video with a small pinch of salt, grain of sand, whatever your expression of choice is, because we haven't got the full rules, we haven't got the full lineup of budgets, so I'm anticipating the premium drivers will come out maybe later Monday evening, maybe first thing Tuesday morning, I'm not sure exactly, but the game is launching 11 a.m. UK time, so be prepared, people, because it's going to be thick and fast over the next few days. So let's have a look at the next batch of price reveals that have just come out, literally about, I don't know, half an hour before I started recording this. I was like, oh, that's good timing. Let's get them into the video. So, by the way, I hope you like the new kind of aesthetic feel of the videos, a bit more of a different look to my videos hopefully this time, a bit more clean cut and professional, I'm hoping. So if you like it, please do give it a thumbs up, subscribe, etc. But yeah, here are the price reveals for the C tiers that have just come out, like I say, just before recording this video. I'm going to talk in a bit more detail about all my favorites and that in just a minute. So let's first of all move on to looking at the first asset of choice, which is Kimi Antonelli, 18.4 million. Now my first reaction to seeing this, and you know, my first reaction when this came out was quite a few hours ago now, but now at the time of recording it still hasn't really changed. My first reaction is that I think it's a bit overpriced, and that's my first feeling. And that's saying, because I'm looking at 2024 starting prices, obviously from last season, 18.4 million actually comes in quite reasonably in terms of like the big teams here. You can see Sainz was the cheapest of the big teams, at 18.5 million. So he actually comes in slightly less than that, and obviously we don't know the exact prices of all the other premium drivers and that, but Antonelli, being a rookie, he's so young, and I know he's backed heavily by Mercedes. They believe in him. He is a quality driver, but my first reaction is, do I really want to put 18.4 million amount of trust into a rookie in a Mercedes car, which we've been, it's very, very topsy-turvy the last couple of seasons. Changeable conditions affect the car a lot. Have they sorted out those issues over the winter? We don't know. They have looked pretty good. Mercedes have looked good in testing, but it's still debatable. Some people are saying they're number 2, some number 3, some number 4. It's really difficult. Past that, McLaren, who seem to be very clearly the first team, the top team at the moment, it's hard to know exactly whether the likes of Mercedes are gonna kind of line up. So putting faith from race 1 into Kimi Antonelli is probably not where I'm going to go, but we'll see, depending on what other prices and everything come out, and the actual point scoring and rule changes and that sort of thing could impact this decision. But my initial reaction, based on what we know from 2024 rules, is that this feels a bit too much. I would have liked to see maybe $1 million or $2 million cheaper personally. I feel like it's, I don't know, but at the same time, it could be a good pricing from the developers, because if Mercedes are really good and Antonelli is also really good, then suddenly he's an absolute bargain. We don't want him being too cheap, because then it breaks the game like 2023 a la Alonso, etc. So yeah, my initial reaction though is probably going to stay away from Antonelli, but we'll see. The other drivers, the other C tier drivers, you can see again the 2024 price comparison for people in that region. You can see we've had a bit of a price bump. The cheapest asset last year, 5.5 million, was Sargent. It looks like Bortoleto is the cheapest this year at 6 million. So yeah, $500,000 increase. So for the cheapest possible asset, it'll be interesting to know how much the most expensive asset comes in, because last year Verstappen was 30 million. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone touches 30 million to start the season off again. I don't think they will. My hunch is that there won't be anyone 30 million. Even Verstappen will be a little bit lower than that, I'd imagine. But anyway, key points from what I like here. I do like Bortoleto as the cheapest option on the grid. The Sauber looks pretty much like it's pretty much set to be the slowest car on the track at the moment. And Bortoleto, again, being a rookie, but he comes in with quite a lot of backing from F2, quite a lot of experience from F2, and I already kind of trust him. I think I kind of trust all the rookies, to be honest, this season so far. I think that's a great batch of drivers, and I think it's going to be exciting at both ends, all ends of the grids, both ends, middle end, back and front, whatever. And I do think that Bortoleto at 6 million could be a great price for enabling us to get the higher price assets. So my choice, though, from these C-tier assets would probably be Ollie Bearman, because, again, 6.7, so he comes in as, he looks like the third cheapest asset, but I think Hulkenberg is actually slightly cheaper, isn't he? But 6.4. So Bearman at 6.7, though, is very appealing. I think the Hazards had a really strong season last season, and they're both drivers last year. Hulkenberg and Magnussen were both good for overtake. So Bearman at 6.7 is pretty tasty, especially because Bearman's had some actual genuine F1 experience. So only Doohan can say he's had any F1 experience at all before that. Hadjar and Bortoleto both coming up from F2. At least Doohan had the last race in Abu Dhabi last season, and Bearman had, 3 races last year? So, Bearman certainly instills confidence in me that, the fact that he came in last season to that Saudi Arabia race, Jeddah, and performed extremely well. He was a bit off maybe in qualifying, not getting to Q3, but that's probably a bit too harsh, to be honest. But the fact that he pulled it through and got into the points, I think he finished 7th, if I'm not mistaken, that fills me with a lot of confidence for Bearman. And he also did well in the other two. I think thinking back to Brazil as well, and that pouring horrible rain, and Bearman actually managing to pretty much keep it on track most of the time anyway, it was pretty much good confidence inspiring performance from Bearman. So yeah, I do think Bearman is certainly interesting here for me. Doohan, I'm not sure because Doohan, he seems like a solid, safe driver, so maybe he is a good option, because in the Alpine, it looks like it's performing quite well. But are we going to see Doohan kind of qualify quite well and fall back? Or I think actually probably more likely is we'll see Doohan maybe not qualify so well and potentially be able to push forward. I have to keep a close eye on how he starts the season. I know there's a lot of talk about him being replaced by Colapinto, but I'm not going to let that affect my thinking for at least a few races, surely. I do think that Doohan has definitely got the potential to be good, as the Alpine is arguably, it looks like it's going to fall into that 5th or 6th position to start the season off in terms of how strong the cars are. So Doohan at 7.2 million, he could be doing something for me, but I'm not sure about it. It's not quite as exciting as someone like Bearman for me at the moment. And as for Hadjar, again, the racing balls just don't excite me, and Tsunoda also doesn't particularly excite me. Like, the whole racing ball outfit at the moment is just I'm not really feeling it. At 6.2 again, it could be an enabler. The thing that excites me more, rather than just looking at these as individuals at the moment before we actually know the rules, is actually thinking how these drivers could actually enable some of the higher assets. So if we want to look at like starting the season with, I don't know exactly what the budget is going to look like, but starting with for example, a Leclerc and a Norris, if we're looking for a cheaper constructor or something to pair with that, then we could be looking at we're probably going to look at least 2 or maybe 3 of these kind of drivers in there. So, I quite happily start the season at the moment with Bortoleto and Bearman, but I could even see Bortoleto, Bearman supplementing like a Norris Leclerc lineup. I don't really know if the budget's going to line up like that, and the rule changes to do with the constructors, whether we're going to want to pack in the expensive constructors on that. But it's just an idea that I think that these C-tier assets actually could be fantastic value, and I'm not really afraid to pick any of them. Let's move on to the next bunch of C-tiers, because they're all a bunch of C-tiers basically. And let's just go through these kind of one by one, I guess. So we've got Carlos Sainz. Well, I say one by one. Let's do Carlos Sainz and Albon together, because they're both kind of for the Williams. And again, the Williams is kind of being tipped to be the 5th or 6th fastest team. And again, these prices don't particularly excite me. I will say Sainz is interesting. I'm glad they haven't priced him. I'm pretty happy with the pricing of Sainz, actually, because he is such a quality driver. Comes with a great pedigree from Ferrari. 13.1 million is a great price, because you can see last season Alonso came in at 15.8, and that pushed him into the B tier category, above 15 million, where you're not going to get those price gains of a C tier asset. And so, yeah, I do think that coming at 13.1 million with the potential to gain price budget if the algorithm stays the same as last year, it is very tempting to at least consider Carlos Sainz. If he was close to 15 million, then I just wouldn't even probably go near it. But the fact that he's 13.1 makes me at least think about it. So I'm quite pleased with this pricing. As for Albon, I've got too many bad memories, and I probably shouldn't let that affect my decision making for this season. But God, he DNF'd so much last season. I know some of it was unlucky, but some of it's just the nature of where he is in the grid a lot of the time. And Williams just had a rough season, to be honest, last season. So while I'm a bit more confident about Carlos Sainz, Albon's just given me too many scarring memories, to be honest, to go near the beginning of the season. But who knows what will actually happen before the deadline lock. If I have Albon in my team, then I don't know what I'm doing at this current moment in time. But right now, I'm thinking Albon probably not on my radar right now. Gasly, 11.8 million, again, an interesting price because the Alpines look like they're 5th or 6th. But again, I'm not overly excited by it. I'd probably rather like pack in the lower C tier assets. But that said, Gasly did have pretty good end to the season last year. Alpine are kind of in the ascendancy a little bit. Is he capable of like qualifying in Q3 and holding position? Even if he does that, is it actually worth many fantasy points? We don't know exactly because we haven't seen the rules come out as yet. So yeah, Gasly, I think it's a good price. I think the pricing overall for all the drivers actually is pretty good so far from what I've seen. But 11.8 million for Gasly doesn't particularly excite me, but we'll see. We'll see. This is just kind of first of thoughts at the moment. So very raw thinking at the moment. But my first impression is not 100% sure, but I still like it. But not sure. Tsunoda, already touched on the Racing Bulls. Not 100% sure about the Racing Bulls full stop at the moment. 9.6 million again is a completely fair price, but as an asset, if I'm looking at Tsunoda as an asset in isolation, it just doesn't excite me whatsoever. He has been quite good for overtakes in the past, so if overtaking is still like a main points avenue for these guys, last season it's basically just overtakes and positions gained. Positions gained, not so great because Tsunoda generally qualifies fairly well in general. So if he qualifies like in that annoying little slot of like P11, P12, and then finishes like in that same region, it's not good for fantasy. So my initial thinking is probably not going to go for Tsunoda. That said, the Racing Bulls are a bit worse off this season, so he could be qualifying further back. And then with his experience over some of the rookies around him, maybe he can claw a few positions back. So maybe there's some hope for Tsunoda there. And really, in the same kind of boat are the Aston Martins here. The Aston Martins are nicely priced, I think. They've piqued my interest slightly just because they're cheaper than what I probably would have anticipated. I thought they'd be like $1 million or so more, to be honest. But, they haven't particularly excited. They didn't have the best of tests in Bahrain. So, yeah, 8.8 million for Alonso. Like you can see on the screen there, last season he was 15.8 million. So nearly like half his price basically from last season. Admittedly, the Aston Martins seem to be in a worse position, but it's certainly interesting for a two-time world champion, someone with such immense experience as Fernando Alonso. 8.8 million is certainly food for thought when you consider that the other drivers in the CT, the rookies are coming in at like 6 and 7 million. For an extra 1 to 2 million, you can get Alonso. It's like, that seems actually, not such a bad deal. So yeah, again, quite like the price in that. I think Stroll similarly is also well priced, 8.1 million. He could be an option if you have that line of thinking with Alonso, but you can't quite reach him with your budget and you want to save that 0.7 for something else, then maybe Stroll could be an alternative to Alonso. Again, Stroll did not have a great season last season. Stroll doesn't have much of a great time in F1 in general, I don't think, but he's still in there plugging away. His dad's just pushed him along down the track with a fistful of cash. Off you go, son. But no, I do think Stroll is definitely a potential option, but we'll move on to who I think is the pick of the bunch so far out of probably all the price reveals is Ocon at 7.3 million. Now, bearing in mind Bortoleto, the rookie in a stinking Sauber, is at 6 million. For just 1.3 million more, you got Ocon. I think that's immediately jumps out at me as like, wow, that seems like he wants to get straight in my team. Again, I'll say this is dependent on the rules and the point scoring structure that we haven't been revealed at the time of recording. But my initial thought is Ocon in the team. You like sign. Where do you sign? Give him the piece of paper. Give him the pen. Make him sign on my team because he is again a very experienced driver. He's a race winner. I think back to Hungary a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, whenever it was. He's notoriously good at overtakes. If you look at F1 Fantasy Tools and have a look at the overtake stats, then Ocon is right up there as one of the overtake merchants, basically. And like I've said already, like the way these guys score points is generally through overtakes or positions gained. And the Haas has been pretty consistent and reliable over the last year or so. 7.3 million just really excites me. I don't think I have much more to say on it other than the fact that Ocon is a standout option for me amongst these drivers. On my first thoughts, like I say, these prices revealed like less than an hour ago, and this is just my first reaction. My first reaction is buy, as in BUI, not BYE. If that makes sense. Yeah, buy Ocon, get him in the team. That's my initial reaction. Hulkenberg, 6.4 million. I'm not sure that's so exciting for me. Like, yes, it's a great price, and yes, he's got experience, but he's in a stinking car, and we know how good old Hulkenberg is at qualifying. So my initial reaction is like, Hulkenberg is going to push the limits of that car and squeeze out a few positions, particularly of those rookies around him, through qualifying. He's going to qualify well. I say well in inverted commas. Like, I'm thinking like P12, 13, 14 would be great for him in the Sauber, but in the race, even with that experience, if the Sauber's race pace just isn't there, I can definitely see him falling back. So I'm a bit wary about picking Hulkenberg at the beginning of the season until I've seen a bit more about what the Saubers are all about. But my initial thinking is probably to avoid. And that's actually kind of it, really. So let's move on to what I'm planning to do for the rest of the week. Maybe have a day off on Thursday, don't know. But Tuesday is the game launch, so I'm at work during the day on Tuesday. So I'll be active over on Twitter most likely during the day. But I'll be I haven't decided if I'm doing a live stream or an actual video. I'll decide tomorrow on Tuesday what I'm doing. But yeah, Tuesday evening UK time, I'll be doing a kind of review of the actual game rules and everything, working out what's changed, seeing how the point scoring system may have changed, see if they've actually listened to our survey at all from the end of last year. Be interesting to see. So yeah, catch me Tuesday evening in the UK time for another YouTube video / maybe a stream. We'll see. Wednesday is going to be my Australia team selection video because it's all go, and we've got to get the team actually in there. And then Friday will be the final thoughts video. I would love to do a live stream. I'd love to do a deadline stream going into the first race of the season, but it's like 4 a.m. or something ridiculous in my time, and I'm just not sure I can be who you want me to be at 4 a.m. to be quite honest. So we'll see. The final thoughts video might be all I put out, and then I might just be active on Twitter for the minutes leading up to the actual deadline on Saturday morning for me. But yeah, that's kind of my idea for what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the season, rest of the week. But those are my kind of initial thoughts. So yeah, my kind of thinking is that, Ocon looks good. Let's just scroll back a bit. Go back to the beginning. Yeah, so we got from here, overall summary of thoughts: Antonelli, no. Doohan, maybe. Behrman, yes. Hadjar, no. Bortoleto, yes, potentially as an enabler. Sainz, maybe. Albon, no. Gasly, maybe. Tsunoda, no. Alonso, Stroll, maybe. Ocon, yes. Hulkenberg, probably not. So that's the summary of my feelings and thoughts at the moment. Like I say, it's very hard to really pinpoint anything too concise because we haven't got the full layout of the rules and everything. But hopefully this video has at least kind of helped process some thoughts and triggered some things in your own mind about what you might want to be doing with your team. And I don't know, do you think the same thing as me? Are you thinking, oh no, what are you talking about, Tom? Like, Albon is a great option at that price, or actually I think Hulkenberg might be good because blah blah blah. Well, let me know in the comments. Like I said, these are just my initial reactions, and I'm sure there's plenty of expert fantasy managers out there that can give me your thoughts and opinions as well. So I'd love to hear what you've got to know, because what you guys are thinking, because we've literally just got a few days. The game has come out so late, so close to the actual deadline, that we have very little time. So let's collate our thoughts, chuck them in the comments down below, and I'll respond to, I say every comment, but we'll see how many comments there are first. If there's like 200, then I probably won't, but there'll probably be more like, I don't know, I guess 15 or 20 comments maybe. So we'll see. I'll try and reply to everyone's comments. If you can, just give me your thoughts and feelings over these initial price reveals. And I'll see you Tuesday evening for either a stream, maybe. I don't know. Again, comment below. Do you want a stream or do you want a video? I don't mind. I'm easy. Happy to do either. So yeah, maybe if I get enough comments down below arguing either way, then we'll go with that. Otherwise, I'll just pick tomorrow. So I'll see you one way or another Tuesday. Thanks very much for tuning in. It's great to be back in front of the camera, and like I say, I hope you like the new aesthetics. I quite like the color scheme, pinky blue and purple, nice. So yeah, I'll see you Tuesday, thanks and bye for now.